going to spend too long on myself. I'm Peter Oosterlynck. I'm a pre-sales at Axway, taking care of the Axway API management related products. Yeah. So what are we going to talk today about? It's about our enterprise marketplace, and more specifically, how it allows you to discover all kinds of services, centralize those services, make products out of them, and apply a monetization or another usage plan to that. So that's what it's going to be about. So enterprise marketplace, what is it? Well, first of all, it's a storefront. Yeah? It is a developer portal. What you see at least is a developer portal aimed at application developers that are looking for some services to use in their own development. Yeah? It is a customizable front-end storefront. It's a marketplace, which means we can brand it to your needs in terms of colors and logos, but also in terms of setting up your homepages, etc., etc. It's about centralizing and exposing and APIs, but not only APIs. I'd rather talk about service, because the APIs, they can be classical REST APIs or even SOAP APIs for my part, but we can also handle things like GraphQL or async API or protobuf, those kind of things. So in general, we talk about services that are being centrally curated, yeah? And I'm going to come back to that. Yeah? The idea is, indeed, in the end, to have kind of a new revenue stream, because you're going to monetize the usage of your products. And I'm going to use the word product because a product is not the same as a service. I'm going to come back on that. Okay, where do we fit in the landscape, starting at the conception of APIs and the monetization or the consumption of those APIs? Well, first of all, you have API design and API build, and that have you all nice tools that you have out there. That is not within the scope of Axway Amplify MarketPlace. Then you have these API management related things, whereby you are virtualizing services to some kind in order to provide the necessary or to apply the necessary policies, inbound security policies, routing policies, validation, etc., etc. Not the scope of the Axway Amplify Marketplace either. It is done by other products at Axway, but not within the marketplace. What are we talking about? First of all, is about packaging and monetizing services. That's what we're going to talk about. And the aim of that, once we have packaged and managed those and monetize those services, then it's over to the consumer and the people out there that are just accessing your marketplace, authenticated or not, and they get the possibilities to look for certain products. And I'll come back to what I mean by a product. So they can search for products, consult documentation, etc. And finally, they have the capability of subscribing to a certain product from within the marketplace. Come back to that. And then, of course, you have all these things about gaining access, receiving credentials, etc., etc. So this is what the marketplace is about. There are no runtime aspects to the marketplace, so to speak. It's mainly, to put it bluntly, it is a developer portal. Yeah? But with some nice features that we were not used to having in the past. So let's first of all show you what we're talking about here. So on the bottom there, I put a whole bunch of systems that are one way or another exposing APIs or services or other kinds of things. And what the fact of the matter is, at Axway, we are encountering more and more customers that are not standardized on a single API gateway or management solution. In a lot of cases, and they do not necessarily have to be humongously large corporations, we can have rather modest customers or prospects that have more than one of that use more than one of those API management solutions, if I may call it like that. Some of these solutions on the bottom don't even have the concept of a developer portal. Others do. But when they do, then they are a developer portal for a specific product. It's a developer portal for AWS. It's a developer portal for services hosted. Yes, we're not at the end of our misery. Okay, looks good. So those developer portals are aimed at one specific solution. Now, if you look at an application developer out there, this person has a task. He has to develop an application within a certain specification, within a certain domain, let's say. And more often than not, he's going to need more than just 1 or 2 APIs in order to be able to develop his application. So what, in an ideal case, this application developer is looking for is not for APIs as such. He doesn't want to look right and forth between all these API management solutions to find an API here and a service over there and gather it together. No, he's looking for what we call a product. A product which resides within a certain functional domain. And that product will contain, one way or another, will contain a number of APIs, services, all related to that business function that this product is about. So that person then says, okay, I have found a product to my liking that I need, and that means that that product will contain a number of services that are all related or all pertaining to the functionality that he's looking for. So he is subscribing to a product, and in subscribing to a product, he will receive, let's say, access to all the services underneath. He may not need them, all of them, but maybe 80% of them will be useful for him. So it's about making this person's life easy. So how do we do that? Well, the instrumental in that is these agents over here. So, come on. Okay. So what we have is these agents, these discovery agents. These discovery agents, as the word mentions it, is all about discovering services. Let me call it that, because it's not necessarily APIs, it can be all kinds of services. These agents are going to discover any new service that appears in those systems, new or updated. So we can also find new versions for that. So the agent will discover these things, and he does also some other stuff, but in the end he will put everything that he discovers, he will put it kind of in a flat list, the service registry. So the service registry at the level of the management plane over here, our marketplace, is kind of a long, flat list of all the services that have been discovered. Now, it goes without saying that is not what we're going to expose to the potential consumer, to the developer. What we want is a product. So where do we go from here? Well, I would like to use an image for that, and the image that I'm using is the image of a restaurant. If you look at the restaurant, well, the cook has sitting in the back a number of fridges with potatoes and tomatoes and meat and what have you. But the customer that visits the restaurant is not interested in that. He wants a meal, a complete meal for a certain price. Now, the cook will not make a complete meal out of the basic stuff, out of potatoes and tomatoes. He will, every morning, he will do what we call his mise en place. So he will be preparing like sauces, he will be cutting pieces of meat. So preparing stuff that he can then use in his plates, in his dishes. So he has, for example, a certain sauce. Well, the sauce may be used in different dishes, but it's already prepared partially. So that means that this sauce is reusable. And that's what these steps are about. So the fridge with the potatoes and tomatoes and the meats, that's the service registry. First thing that we do, like the cook, is we're going to prepare some stuff. Not complete dishes, but things that I will use in a dish later on. And these sauces, the pre-cut meat and so forth and so on. Those are the assets. So an asset within platform is a logical grouping of a number of related services. And very important, such an asset is reusable. So that's it. The interesting part is when the cook starts to really make a dish. That's when he's going to create a product. So the product is made up of sauces and whatever. He makes a product or a dish. He puts a price on it. He says this product, this plate is going to cost that much. And by the way, here you have the menu. If you want to know what it's all about, read the menu. The explanation is there. So the analogy remains the same. Potatoes, tomatoes, reusable sauces and what have you, assets, and a product with a documentation, the menu, and a price on it. And that's the aim that we want to achieve. That's what the marketplace is about. So this gives you an overview of the different steps in that we're going through in the marketplace. Yeah. So we start by discovering services. Remember, the agent is on a technical way, is looking for different services, is populating that marketplace, is populating that service registry. And then we are going to validate and secure these things, ensure that the services that we find in the service registry are compliant to your governance rules and so forth and so on. It's not because some developer in some little corner has developed an API of some kind that it's adhering to the rules. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. Then we're going to group these things in assets, reusable assets, remember? Yeah? And finally, we're going to create products out of them. Product being composed of a number of components, tomatoes, potatoes, sauces, and so forth and so on, and for a certain price. And that's where the monetization comes into the picture. So let's go and look at the demo, and I sense that I'm going to have another misery over here because of the browser. So let me directly go to the end-user experience, to the developer experience. Before I'm going to any other detail, I would like you to see what in the end, the marketplace is about. So the marketplace is the emanation of it all. Of course, in front of that, we have the whole asset creation, monetization, etc., etc. So I'm going to a marketplace. You saw that I have two marketplaces. You do not have as a tenant, it's a SaaS solution, by the way. As a tenant, you do not have to have only one marketplace. We have a lot of companies that have different brands, for example, different types of audiences. They can have several marketplaces based on the same tenant. And each marketplace has its own branding, has its own categories and what have you. So that's just in a nutshell. So this is this marketplace. This marketplace that I created is what I've made out of it. What do we see over here? Well, we see these things like favicons, other icons, colors and fonts and what have you. And then we have the layout of the page. I chose to have a hero banner over here with a search in there. And then I chose to have a number of featured categories. So we're going, one of the ways of grouping these products is categorizing them. So a certain product may be in several categories. And some of the categories I can say, okay, these are the important categories for this target audience. These are what we call featured categories. I chose to have this featured categories entry in there. And I said that those three categories, personal finance, cards as a service, and stock exchange, those are the ones that I would like to feature. Are there more categories? Quite obviously. Yeah. Now, let me just scroll a little bit down here. What I also see on the bottom, again, customizable, I see a certain list of recently published products, and I can start looking at it, finish like financials. Yeah? So that's it. Or I can go directly to all the other categories, and there's one that I populated a little bit called the miscellaneous category. And in the miscellaneous category, I see a number of products, and a certain product may belong to several categories. Let's make sure about that. So here I see a number of products that are part of the miscellaneous category. Again, I can start searching for them, but this list is quite small. So I'm going to go directly to, for example, the financial services product. Now I'm entering this product, the financial services product. So what do I see? First of all, I see a name, I see a version, I see the possibility to subscribe. I'll come back to that. And then we have kind of an overview with already some documentation over there. I'll come back to that. On the right, I see who has been assigned as a support contact. So you need some kind of support. It's not all necessarily all going nicely and self-service way. So the person that created that product said, okay, this guy or this lady is going to be the support contact for that product. That's what we see over here. We see the categories. Possibly we could have a number of tags, and we see a product history. Yeah. Now, I said a product is a grouping of assets and, by extension, of APIs, of services. And that's what we see over here, the resources list. So here we see that this product has been being composed of a corporate card, a stock quote, and a transaction service, in this case. Yeah. If I want, I can look at the details of that. And these are, well, this is an OAS 2. I have an OAS 3. Could also be GraphQL or whatever, as I told you. But if I click on that, well, he will open up this kind of Swagger graphical notation that you probably all know. So I can see what this thing is about. Yeah. Yeah, I have a get method, and under that get method, I have some information. All very nice. Going back to there. And these are the interesting ones. So we have also documentation possibilities. We have a product. That product can be complex or not, but it covers a certain functional domain. Here we have the possibility to create, as well. I will hopefully show you, but stop. Is that a hard stop? Ah, yeah, stoppish. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. So we can provide a documentation for that. I'll come back to that. Well, let me go directly to documentation maybe. So I have, for example, here, I can specify several sections and a number of topics, so I can define a structure for my documentation. And at the leaf side of such a documentation, I can put documents. So in the platform, we can define a document catalog. PDFs, Markdown documents, PowerPoints, Words, whatever you. We can build up a documentation library that will be at the leaf of this documentation. So here we are structuring the documentation in topics and what have you, and we're going to add documents to that. And finally, and it was where I was supposed to be in the middle of things, we have these payment plans. So I am now using, and I am a application developer, I'm looking at this portal. I found this service that I will probably need for what I'm going to do. I said, okay, I looked at the documentation. This is definitely what I need because what I read in the documentation is there. And now what do I want? What do I want? Well, I have created, in this case, 3 payment plans or usage plans with some names. I could have called them anything, gold, platinum, whatever. I chose to take one that I called trials, which is a free plan with a certain limitation. Behind such a plan, we also have quota management. Yeah, if we say, okay, trials, that means that you can use so many thousand transactions per time unit. Well, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, same over here. So I had one that was basic. I had one that was enterprise. And if I look at the details of that, yeah, for example, I take the enterprise one. What do I see? Well, I see that I had defined few moments earlier, that this enterprise plan comes at a base cost of $50,000 or euros a year, that we have this type of tiered way of working. We can have pay as you go, really pay per transaction. We can have a flat rate for a number of transactions, or we can have this tiered approach whereby we say from 1 to 1 million transactions, it's going to cost you 5 cents. From 1 million to 8 to 3 cents and so forth. So we have different capabilities over there in order to do that. Finally, if I said, okay, well, these plans, yeah, sure, I'm going to subscribe to the basic plan. Yeah, okay, then and then we go. I need an owner for that. Never mind. I'm continuing. So the subscription is approved. I'm going to request access now. I'm going to my transactions, and new summit, request access. I had a typo there. Submit, create, okay, create, request access, request credentials. So what happens now behind the scenes, whilst I'm clicking away, whilst I'm asking these credentials, whilst I'm asking for a certain plan with a certain quota behind it, the agent, it's not only working from the top from the bottom to the top, the agent is going to say, oh, this guy wants to subscribe to a service which is really running in that gateway, and he will say, okay, Mr. Gateway, here's a quota for this new subscriber. You can give him that many transactions per time unit, and by the way, he will need some credentials. Please give me an API key or auth client and your secret, and he's good to go. So that's what's going to happen. I'm creating a, let me call it temp, and it's going to be an API key, and I'm having, oh, yeah. Is that an asterisk? Did I type an asterisk? Yeah. Voila. So now, it's asynchronous, because I'm now back here in my screen, but the agent is working. The agent is saying, okay, oh, I discovered this new subscription, Mr. Gateway, create a quotum, and so forth and so on. And finally, and I'm not going to go any further. If I now go to my my applications, I have this new application that I created, and I can now obtain my API key in this case. Yeah, and you will only be able to see it one time, because this secret or these credentials are not the business of the platform. They are the business of the consumer and the gateway. The platform and the marketplace have no dealing with that. So the API key is just passing through one time. It's not stored, yeah, and it's being shown to you, and you can copy it, and you're good to go. So at this point in time, I have an API key in this case. I have a new Swagger that I didn't show you with it, and I'm good to go. If I have a Swagger and an endpoint and the credentials, I'm good to go. So unfortunately, I have to leave it at that. My plan was to go back a little bit and see how I created such a product with a plan. But I guess I hope at least that you get the gist. If you have questions, you know where my email and my telephone number are available within the organization. Come up to the stand, speak to me, call us, write us, whatever. But okay. Thank you very much.